Hold on. Okay, I'm ready now.
There you go.
Hey, guys,
That's what you should be
hi.
doing. That's how close you should be. I don't know
We
why
are
you sit
now
so far
live
back.
on Planting Seeds, gentlemen. How are you?
We're
Good. How are you?
we're hard to wrangle. That's how we are.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
100%.
You are hard
Yeah.
to wrangle.
Yeah, we're very difficult.
So, Sanjay Parekh and Adam Walker, how are you guys doing today?
I mean,
Good.
living that dream. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't even know what we're talking about. So
Yeah.
following your lead. If you ask me how many owls it's going to take to scare me, I got the answer. I'm ready to go.
So that's a callback to previous episodes of this podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's
Still
what
5.
here's what I want to talk about. So I call this startup therapy. It could be startup intervention, or it just could be startup conversation.
Okay.
You two do lots and lots of things, and you happen to run 2 what I'll call startups together.
Yeah.
That I really, really love.
Okay.
So
I like the very generous use of the word startup there for the things that we do.
I like the generous use of the word run.
Well,
He didn't say
I
dumpster
clarified
fire
it.
during any of that, did he?
I clarified it because I don't know if TikTok y'all is a startup. I mean, it's an
a project.
entrepreneurial venture.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Anyways, so TikTok y'all, which I want you to tell us about, and then TogetherLetters.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about the why, and you guys have lots of things you're doing, and so why are these things important? Why do you keep doing them? So I'll ask one of you to give an overview of what TikTok y'all is, and the other to give an overview of TogetherLetters. Who wants to go first?
Not it.
No, I was going to say you should do TikTok y'all because that's harder than TogetherLetters.
Great. Do it. Yeah. You start, and I'll do TikTok y'all. Go ahead.
So I'm doing TikTok y'all.
No, you're doing TogetherLetters. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. TogetherLetters. That's the easier one.
Yeah.
So TogetherLetters is something that we started. It's been about 4 years now. Really as a reaction to social media being awful. And so it's a email newsletter that you can go in and create a group based on people's email addresses. You don't need any other information. They don't ever need to log in actually, but they get an email either once a week, once every other week, once a month, or once a quarter. And it's basically a simple form that they fill in that says, what's going on or how are you doing, whatever the question is. And then that gets combined into an email newsletter that gets sent to everybody in that group and only in that group. And then it's never shared on the web, which is important because it's never searchable by search engines and things like that. So really it's a way of keeping a group connected. And the other important thing is there is no way to do reply all. So you can do one-on-one replies, but you can't reply to the entire group. So that saves people's inboxes.
Probably the best feature ever right there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's the one. So
yeah.
That was good. I like that. You can use it for like book clubs, check-ins,
family groups.
I use it for my extended family. I use it for book clubs. It's great.
How many groups roughly are using it right now?
I think we were more like
how many groups that are using it out there? I mean, over 1,000? I don't know. It's a lot.
1,000 active users right now. Yeah. So it's been growing exponentially without us meaning for it to for the last 6 months or so, which has been kind of amazing. So
yeah, we haven't done any outbound marketing, and people just there was a handful of signups already today.
Yeah. There's a lot of SEO traffic comes to our site for family newsletter or friend newsletter. So that's kind of interesting. So we kind of optimize for that. That's been helpful. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So 4 years ago, you started that. Now, Adam, tell us about TikTok y'all.
So TikTok y'all happened by accident. Sanjay was giving me a tour of the podcast studio he's created, and he offhandedly said, hey, I should probably start a podcast. And me being the opportunist that I am, I said, well, I'll do that with you. And he said, okay. And so TikTok y'all is our, we call it a tech news comedy podcast. Really, we cover each week's technology news, and we laugh an insane amount on there. And that's it. So if you want to keep up with what's going on in technology and you want to laugh a little bit along the way with some dad jokes and whatever else, it's a good thing to check out.
And the y'all is because you guys are in the South. It's not because the technology news is from the South.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We've got a Southern flair, Southern focus.
Right. Yeah. But we cover news from anywhere. And it's been over 7 years that we've been doing that podcast.
Yeah.
7 years. Wow.
Yeah. It's been really fun.
Can you do that? What's the cadence again?
Every week. We usually release it on Fridays, typically, unless I get lazy or just forget to edit it, in which case it gets released on a Monday, but typically it's Friday. So
Okay.
I think when we started, it was bi-weekly, and that only went for a few
Yeah.
months, and then we were like, no, this
pick
is
it up.
too much.
There's
Let's
too
go
much
weekly.
news happening. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, Elon Musk, too many fires with that. There's too much to cover in 2 weeks.
Elon Musk
Exactly.
alone
Yeah.
made you go to weekly.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so you both have these two businesses that you've stood up that you're running together. Do I get credit for introducing you guys? Is that
100%? Always.
Yeah, I think
100%.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. You get the credit. You're like, Adam, this is a guy you should know. I can't tell you why. And I was like, okay, whatever you say. And so I just kept scheduling meetings with Sanjay randomly. Like, I was like, hey, we haven't talked in 6 months. We got to meet up. And Sanjay he can't say no, really. Like, he's a sucker, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
He said yes. And it's all.
And I think Tech Talk Y'all starting was probably our third or fourth meeting.
I think it was probably fourth. I think we met at least two or three times down at Georgia Tech. And then this was like your time showing me around Prototype Prime. And I saw that opportunity, man. I was like, I'm in. Let's do this. So
two people that have no idea what they're doing in terms of podcasting is much better than one person doing it.
Well, and
which would have been me.
I'll say this too, like the Tech Talk Y'all dynamic, what I like about it is that I get to sort of play the everyman, which is to say that I'm dumber than you, and you get to explain things that I don't understand technologically or mispronounce technologically. So it works out really well on a number of levels. So,
although sometimes I mispronounce people's names too, because that happened last time. You kind of
fair.
So those are the two that I'm a customer of / listener of. But then you have another business called Edgewise.
Yep.
That. So I guess started because you guys started this podcast. So which of you wants to give a quick overview of Edgewise?
Not it.
All right, I can do that. Yeah. So Edgewise, I call us a podcast first content creation agency. And what I mean by that is like we help companies stand up a podcast, but it's not really about the podcast per se. It's really about the content we create from the podcast for social media. So we'll take one podcast episode and we'll turn that into 15 or 20 pieces of social media content, vertical videos, long form content, videos for YouTube, stuff like that. And so we actually do that actively with Tech Talk Y'all as well. And so, for example, we've had one TikTok video of Tech Talk Y'all, I think hit 103,000 views recently. Yep. And so like that, to me, that's the power of a podcast is you're creating amazing content and then you turn that content into micro content and then you drip that out across all your social media channels. So
love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. So the reason I brought you all here today.
Uh-oh. I hear ominous music now.
Actually, I probably should know how to do that in StreamYard. I think you can. Okay. So you all also are doing lots of other things. You have your hands in other things, not just those three businesses. So I guess what I want to do is dive into a little bit of the why you continue to run each of those three. Is there a master plan? There's like Tech Talk Y'all. Certainly, I hope you guys keep doing this for another 7 years, but it's been 7 years. And sometimes you can have inertia with these things and you just keep doing it and you don't, so I'm just, I want to talk to you two because you do as much as anybody I know. And just like, what's the plan here? Why do you keep, let's start with Tech Talk Y'all. Like, why do you keep doing it?
That's an easy answer. I got, you ready? I got that.
Go.
I do it because I enjoy it. If I'm being very honest, like I laugh more in Tech Talk Y'all, and that 1 hour has more concentrated laughter than any other hour of my entire week. And so I do it literally because I enjoy it, and I don't really care about the audience. It'd be nice to grow. That's fine. I don't care. I do it because it's fun, honestly.
So I think my answer is similar. Yes, it is fun. I think it also keeps me intentionally on top of the tech news.
Yeah,
because I would probably still continue to read all of this stuff, but I'm thinking about it more intentionally. Like, is this an interesting story to other people? And how would I think about it and talk about it? And then I think the third kind of leg of that stool is Tech Talk Y'all has actually led us into some interesting kind of side effects. So Adam and we've been around for a long time. And you would think that people would know us and invite us to do things, but really Tech Talk Y'all has been the catalyst for us to go on things like TV. Like for a while there, we were doing monthly spots on our NBC affiliate here in Atlanta to come on and talk about kind of the weird and wacky tech news. And, once they saw us and once they got us on the first time, they're like, okay, you guys are a lot of fun. And then they quickly moved into like, why don't you guys come every month? Originally, it was just like a one-off time that they'd asked us to come, but they enjoyed it. And personally, and I think this is true for Adam as well, I really got to enjoy meeting those folks and knowing those folks. And I still talk to a lot of those folks because they've become friends. And so I think a lot of times when you do these things, there's these side effects that you don't really think about and you can't really plan for them. Like we couldn't have planned like, okay, here's the master plan. We're going to start a podcast and that's going to get us onto TV eventually. Yeah. Like, no, there's no way. Like we're not that smart. We just did things.
It also led to Edgewise.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that was not planned. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, just bubbled up. Yep.
So I think for us, I think Tech Talk Y'all has been kind of the seed of a lot of great things.
Yeah.
Hence the title of this
podcast.
I
think it also kind of sparked TogetherLetters too. I mean, it was ideas that we kicked. I mean, I still remember kicking around an idea in the studio at Prototype Prime, which was like probably year 2 or 3 of Tech Talk Y'all,
right?
That became TogetherLetters long term, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, it's it's sort of the catalyst for so many different things.
And I think some of the news stories that we talked about kind of helped further that idea along of TogetherLetters, and so all of this stuff is connected in some way or shape or form. So I think that's why Tech Talk Y'all, for me at least, is important because I just don't know what's going to come out of it, in the next 7 years.
That's right.
So let me ask about that then. I'm curious. I talk a lot about focus, right? And this strategy doesn't necessarily align so much with focus, but I also have things in the air. So like, I get it. But I'm just curious, like with those 3 things that you two are doing together, is there well, gosh, if we just focus all of our efforts on one and it would have much more success, I guess 2 of them are businesses. One of them is a podcast, but like, do you ever go say to yourself, gosh, if I slim down the number of things I'm doing, would these other things then take off? Like TogetherLetters we've talked about can be big business maybe, but you guys don't have the time to focus on it. So react to that.
You want me to start on that? Or
you start.
So if I'm being very honest about the 3 things that we're talking about, which is Tech Talk Y'all, TogetherLetters, and Edgewise, they're both, they're all 3 sort of on. I mean, autopilot might not be the right word, but they're sort of all 3 maintaining fine with minimal time, right? I do agree with you though. I think picking one and doubling down and adding more time to it could have a major factor on its ability to grow. The question is which one and why. To your point, though, I mean, I think TogetherLetters probably has the most exponential potential and probably would require the least investment to get there. And so to me, that probably makes the most sense. But we just have to make the commitment into it, honestly.
I think we're now maybe at the point where TogetherLetters doubling down on it makes sense.
It's an inflection point. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we started it 4 years ago and we tried to do marketing around it. And I think the market really wasn't ready yet at that point. Yep. And so like letting it just cook on its own. This is kind of like the MailChimp model here in town, right? Like they built the thing and then they continued on doing the consulting thing. And then all of a sudden the thing took off. That's basically the point that we're at right now.
Yeah.
Because people are finding it and signing up, self-servicing. We've got people paying for it, never contacting us, never asking for any kind of sales support.
Yeah.
Like nothing. It's obvious how it works. It's pretty straightforward and the value is there for people. Right. So I think we have been talking in the last few weeks, I think, about some other ways that we could do some interesting things around TogetherLetters to make it really a lot better. But like Adam says, I don't know that it would take that much. I think there's some concerted effort that we need to do on it, but we have built this whole thing with just the 2 of us. And if we're being honest, just one of us coding.
Very part-time as well, right?
And and not that much. And it was just really initial. Yeah. So to really make it take off is not going to take too much, but it has been definitely fascinating and being able to watch how people interact with it and people find it and sign up. And, like we've had people sign up and create newsletters that are entirely in foreign characters, like, East Asian characters.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know that it would do that. Like it would support it, and it worked. So that's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
I guess that got done properly. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So which of the three is the most fun?
I mean, the most fun is Tech Talk Y'all, I think, for
100%,
sure. Like
100%.
That's an easy one. And honestly, like takes the least time. I mean, for me personally, like it doesn't take much time at all. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all throughout the week. I mean, it takes some time because you and I are both reading articles throughout the week and tagging them, but
reading, I mean, I think you're reading. I'm like, that looks good. Let me tag that. And then I read it right beforehand. I don't typically read them. I read them right before, so they're all top of mind.
I read them. That's interesting. We've never talked about this. I read them as I go, because I'm deciding if it's interesting or not. And I know you do it that way because you will tag articles that I've already tagged before, and it's in our channel. And I'm like, dude, I already tagged that article.
No,
why are you tagging it again?
Yeah.
Which one of the three could be the biggest? And that doesn't necessarily mean revenue.
TogetherLetters. Yeah. Hands down. Yeah.
Has the widest appeal.
Yeah. If it, I mean, Together, I've told a lot of people this. Like, TogetherLetters is one of those platforms that either chugs along, serving a need that I personally find beneficial for the next 15 years and never catches on and never has many users, but like core users really use it and enjoy it, or it could become like enormous. Like it's one of the two. There's very little middle ground, I think.
Yeah.
So it's either going to blow up or it's not.
So is it possible that having your hands in so many different things, not just these three, but other things, is it possible that that's what's stopping you from doubling down on TogetherLetters and making it something much bigger?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah. It's, I think we also have a
coaching
different
podcast. That's what this is, right? You're like, I'm going to back them into a corner and I'm going to make them work on this. Is that what's going on? I like it.
I think one of the challenges too is, we've been very intentional with TogetherLetters when we started it, that we wanted to build this without having to put a lot of money in and without having to raise money and kind of lose control over what it could become. And so, to your point, if we did want to spend a lot of time in it and really make it go quick, like we would probably raise a round right now, right? Raise $500,000, $1 million, just based on the results it's having right now, just organic growth and people going on and people paying for it. I think it would be a doable thing. But then that limits kind of our opportunities on the other end, right? Like at that point, then you've got to get acquired, go public, or go out of business. That's the only three options. The chugging along for 15 years is not an option anymore. And so I think it's, we're kind of walking this tight wire and trying to figure out how do we make sure that the thing that we built stays useful and valuable for people. Like we have seen so many times valuable technologies and services be acquired or be sold to only be shuttered and destroyed and whatever. And I'm not going to name names, but we know them all. But there's big corporations that do this too. And it's a shame because so many people do rely on these things. So I think that's the tension that we feel and the thing that we're kind of trying to figure out. How do we make this something that's useful and keeps that usefulness for everybody?
And I'll say, Jeff, to your point, like, now is probably the right time to start to give it more focus versus previously because it just wasn't growing. Now we're seeing exponential growth month over month. We're seeing more active users than ever before. Now's probably that time. So,
And there's been some changes too, right? There's been this discussion, and Adam and I had this about
founder mode,
this new thing that's kind of exploded about founder mode. And I think we have an idea of how we could actually leverage TogetherLetters to help very large organizations be a lot more nimble and effective, and kind of erase those barriers of communications within an organization.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I didn't know that's where we would land, but I certainly think it's you've proven it out. So now it's time to take that next step on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you could probably make a similar argument to Edgewise that if you two doubled your amount of work on it, it would have a better chance to take off.
For sure. Yeah.
TogetherLetters certainly could scale and be something really big. Sanjay, I don't know if you know, but Adam and I are working on a book that's going to leverage some of the things you all are doing on Edgewise.
Oh, really? Okay.
Here.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Did you tell me?
I don't.
You might have told me.
I don't know. Maybe not.
Maybe you did. Maybe it was in the middle of a game of Fortnite, and then I was too worried about not dying.
Yeah, that's probably
that I
what happened.
didn't.
Yeah.
Really, it didn't connect in the brain. Yeah.
Well, Joe Kaufman likes to talk about how he's like the world's greatest matchmaker, but I think putting you two together was probably one of my greatest feats. So I'm glad
it's worked out pretty well. I'm not complaining. It's
been pretty
all right,
good
gentlemen.
So far.
Well, I appreciate you entertaining me in this conversation. I really just want to, as I thought about the things you two are doing together, I was like, man, they all have potential. They're all interesting. You both love doing them, and yet it seems like if you focused on one, one of them could really take off. So
yeah,
TogetherLetters. So a year from now, we'll have you guys on, and how big will it be?
We'll report back. Yeah, how big will it be?
Yeah,
it's
1,000 users now.
Let's get to what, 10,000 active users? Seems like a good goal for next year.
That would be a good goal for next year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
10,000.
I do have one last question for you, Jeff, though. How many crows would it take for you to be nervous to see in a day? Like, is there
crows?
Crows?
How many crows?
This is a callback to Hitchcock's The Birds, right?
Yeah,
my
that was crows.
Is to ask people, how many owls would you need to see in a day for you to become concerned? Yeah.
Yeah, the answer is 5. That's the
and I wish I was still interviewing people, because that would be the first interview question I would ask. Like hiring.
Like for hiring. Oh,
Yeah.
There's still time. You could still do some interviews. I could sit you in.
No, I don't want to interview. I'm done.
I might have to ask that next time I interview somebody.
Yeah.
I think it's an issue. The crows is a little different, right? Because owls, you just like never see an owl. So when you do, it's weird. Yeah. Crows are a little bit different. If I was driving on the highway, I could see 100 and not be too worried about it.
Yeah.
100
in my house, then I'd be concerned.
Yeah. I mean,
if they were all sitting on your lawn, would that be worrisome?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Gentlemen, it was great to see you. Thanks. And I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.
Okay.